Hey everyone, I'm Megyn Kelly. Welcome to the Megyn Kelly Show. It's Pride Month, oh joy. And we will bring you the latest, including Miss Rachel. And Caitlin Clark is tearing the sports world and media apart because she happens to be popular and amazing at what she does and good for women's sports. So you can see why people hate her. Okay. Today I'm joined, not for the first time on the show, but for the first time in the studio, first time in the Red Studio, by my pal, Dave Rubin, host of the Rubin Report. The Florida man has made it up the East Coast and is here with us today. Don't miss a moment. Subscribe to this show on YouTube and follow me on Insta, Facebook, and X. Grand Canyon University, a private Christian university in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona, believes in equal opportunity and that the American dream starts with purpose. Change the world for good by putting others before yourself. Whether your pursuit involves a bachelor's, master's, or doctoral degree, GCU's online, on-campus, and hybrid learning environments are designed to help you achieve your unique academic, personal, and professional goals. With over 330 academic programs as of September, GCU meets you where you are and provides a path to help you fulfill your dreams. The pursuit to serve others is yours. Let it flourish. Find your purpose at Grand Canyon University. Private, Christian, affordable. Visit gcu.edu. Dave, welcome to the show.
Megyn, I am so thrilled to be with you and see what you have built here and talk about the convicted criminals and all of the horrible people and terrible things that are happening in the world. But this, what you have done here is really just absolutely awesome.
Thank you. It's fun. You know, we were just talking about, like, I can't imagine what it would be like to be stuck inside the building at Fox or NBC, right? It's just so wonderful to be outside of that ecosystem doing what we do.
You did the corporate thing, sister. You were in all the buildings. You did all the stuff. And I was at Fox yesterday, and this is not knocking Fox or anything else. I did Gutfeld and a couple other shows yesterday, but it's such a structure. It's just this very structured thing, physically and sort of mentally as well. And then to come here where we're in your guest house and you're just running just a completely professional operation that all just goes through you, which is, you know, very similar to what I try to do.
Yeah.
And it's like at the end of the day, it will work because of you or not work because of you. And what a beautiful thing that is. Yeah.
Well, I remember coming to visit you in LA before you trekked to the East Coast down to Florida.
I've blocked that whole period of my life out.
But that studio was gorgeous too. Like that was part of my inspo. It's so great to have your own studio done the way you want it done. There's no boss, there's nobody, you know, and I realize this is a luxury. Most people have bosses. But in news, the boss is the person who's going to control your editorial. So it's especially galling because you don't always agree with that person. And when you work for them, you kind of have to do it their way, which is extremely frustrating. So it's just, that alone is just, it's a liberation to be out here.
It's a liberation, and it's like, that's, I think, also what's resonating with people because they are not listening to mainstream media anymore, even though obviously there's some good people, of course, that are still involved in mainstream media. But it's so corroded. It's so slow. It's like a dinosaur in the tar pits at the end. And now people are tuning into people like us, and it's like, we'll do the best we can to share the information as we can, and that's what people are doing at home with their families, and it's really
well. Think about it. It's like you watch cable news, and they're still limited to like 5, maybe 6 at the most minute segments. That's it. And people don't consume information like that anymore.
And when you're on with them, and it's live, and the commercials coming, and you're just getting to the thought, like. If you think about it, like for us to talk, like we're going to do this for a while, and it's like we have the freedom to like explore some stuff and see where it all goes and maybe change our mind while we're talking. But when they're in that box and the commercials come in and you know someone's in their ear going, all of that stuff.
I know. I used to analogize it to like, it felt to me the way it would feel if you were like a Thanksgiving meal where you spend the whole day. I mean, let's be honest. I am not the one who does. I've tried. I've made Thanksgiving meals a couple times.
You have made a turkey in your life.
I have. I've set fires. John O'Hurley and his wife Lisa will back me up. I've tried. But anyway, the point is a lot of people would be in the kitchen the whole day. And then when you sit down, imagine you sit down to that Thanksgiving meal and you can have one bite of the turkey.
Right.
That's it. That's what cable news is. You have to do all this prep as the anchor for the big show because you don't know where it's going to go. And then all you get is just a little nibble and the segment's over.
So I suppose the point is we're doing it right.
We're in the right place.
Not bad, not bad.
I want to talk to you about what's happening at the Washington Post. We might as well kick it off there because we're on the subject of media. So the Washington Post is in like a slippery downfall, probably to its end.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hemorrhaging.
Well deserved, I would
It's
say.
disgusting.
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
It's worse than the New York Times.
Ooh, well.
I know.
We'd have to really think that one through. I mean, the New York Times is unbelievably horrible, but there's something
honestly,
particularly perverse. Yeah.
Still readable.
Yeah.
Like you read it and you see it's biased and you know you're getting misled. The Washington Post has turned into Slate.
Yeah.
I mean, it's disgusting now. And it has been this way for a couple of years. So you'd be shocked to learn they're hemorrhaging readers.
Yeah.
They're leaving in droves. And it's not like they had a huge Republican base to begin with. But, you know, even the moderate readers seem to have said, you're too much for me. Even I have said that. And I'm in news and get paid to consume it. I'm like, you're too much for me. So the New York Times reported in July of 2023 that the Washington Post was on pace to lose about $100 million last year. Then in October of this past fall, the Washington Post offered buyouts to cut staff by almost 240 employees. They cannot increase their number of paying customers since the 2020 election. They peaked at 3 million subscribers back then. They're now down by 500,000 and counting. It's just going down and down and down. Like, these are dreadful numbers for the Washington Post. And now there was a meeting on Monday, today's Tuesday, where the publisher, Will Lewis, and the new interim executive editor, Matt Murray, met with staff. And they got rid of the Sally Busby, who had led the paper for the past couple of years, and made a shocking announcement. Okay, guess who's coming in to lead the paper?
Oh, I actually don't know.
Count them. Not one, not two, not three. 4 white men.
Oh, God. During Pride Month?
Yes.
White men.
White men. They're
God.
white and they're men. And one of them was the leader of the Wall Street Journal prior to this. Oh, my God.
I think my analogy of a dinosaur in the tar pits is pretty on point.
Yes.
That is what these things, they have grown so large. They've been so negligent to what their job is of doing the news and doing it honestly. How is it, you and I are not wizards. How is it that we've largely gotten the big things right over the years, or didn't fall for all of the hoaxes?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, how is it that I didn't fall for all of the COVID stuff? How is it that I didn't fall for Donald Trump verifying people on both sides? How is it that I didn't think Brett Kavanaugh was a serial rapist, or that the Covington kids were racist, or that Jesse Smollett was lynched? Why is it that you and I didn't fall for all those? Is it that we're so brilliant? Or is it that the media lies about everything, and then once you see it, you've peered behind the curtain, then just know it. And what's happening is more and more people are seeing it. So their own readers are finally like, my God, this is not a newspaper.
These are charlatans.
Maybe they never were. Who knows now? Don't you think that a little bit? Like, we always like to think, 20, 30 years ago, or Walter Cronkite before that, or Tom Brokaw, or something like that it was better. Maybe it really wasn't, and just our ability to get information was so controlled that it wasn't. But at this point, it's why when guys like Chris Cuomo, who I think I'm seeing later today, I'm going to do his show at his house, which seems that will be a very different vibe than what we're doing here.
Good luck with that.
But it's like when he leaves CNN, it's like nobody cares about him anymore. Or Don Lemon, he leaves because the chair meant something at those places. But what they were doing were just acting as propagandists. And that's what's happening at the Washington Post. You guys get all of this big stuff wrong. Eventually people wake up.
Yeah, and don't want to be misled anymore.
Yeah.
So, of
or at
course,
least pay for it,
Here's the funny thing. So now they're bringing in the most competent people. That's their explanation.
White people.
White men, my God. That's how desperate they are. And of course, they're having a revolt.
Yeah.
Right? The Washington Post staffers are outraged. First of all, the New York Times scooped the Post on this story. They got their story up before the Washington Post got its story up about its own reshuffling, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the reaction by one reporter at the meeting to finding out 4 white guys were going to be leading the Post now was, everyone was shocked with your email last night. The reporter suggested the most cynical interpretation sort of feels like you chose 2 of your buddies to come in and help run the Post, and we now have 4 white men running 3 newsrooms. This guy, Lewis, admitted it's not great and vowed to do better going forward. What about women? Later in the meeting, another reporter asked Lewis whether any women or people of color were interviewed and seriously considered for these positions. A question that prompted applause. Yeah, there's got to be a more qualified female or person of color. Look at these guys, so pale and so penisy. Lewis said there will be significant opportunities within the news organization for them. But no, he's not going to get into the details. Then he delivers the following hard truth. He was asked whether he was intentionally bringing in people who come from a different culture than the Post, like the Wall Street Journal and all the whiteness.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And this is what he said. We are losing large amounts of money. Your audience has halved in recent years. People are not reading your stuff. I can't sugarcoat it anymore. So I've had to take decisive, urgent action to set us on a different path, sourcing talent that I have worked with that are the best of the best. Then somebody comes out, one other thing says, don't we need our brilliant social journalists and service journalists? What is a service journalist?
What is that?
And he says, look, you haven't been able to do it. I've listened to the platitudes. It's just not happening. Amazing.
It's so incredible watching wokeness eat itself and destroy itself. You know what this is? Did you see the video? I'm sure you saw it a couple days ago I think it was at Philly Pride, where the Hamas supporters got in it with the gays at an intersection. And it was like, oh, this is the end of intersectionality. We'll end at an intersection. And this is the same thing. It's like, you guys went woke, so the newspaper starts basically pushing leftist propaganda instead of truth. And now you have to fix it, and you think that only if we have the right diverse crew, if I bring in a black lesbian publisher, that somehow it'll fix things. Nobody is against black lesbian publishers, but give me people who are competent and can work, because otherwise everything will collapse.
Right.
Literally everything. We will have planes falling out of the sky because we will have unqualified people doing things. It's just true. So they're all getting what they deserve. And I can only imagine, what do you think Jeff Bezos is thinking about this whole thing?
I mean,
because he can pour cash all over it for the rest of his life.
Let him do that then. If that's what you want to do, then keep just doing diversity hires and see what happens to your paper.
Yeah.
It's going to look a lot like what just happened to its paper. You know, the person they just got rid of was a woman.
Penisy.
White penisy people. And they've realized they might actually be the answer to competent management at the Post. But it's amazing to listen to this guy, Lewis, say to them, like, flat out, it didn't work your way. We tried it. You're basically going to get fired. You'll lose your job if we continue just hiring people who are incompetent to run the paper. So it's my way or the highway. It'll be really interesting to see what happens to the Post now. See if it's too late to save them. Do
you know the line I quote it all the time from Michael Malice? The corporate press is the enemy of the people. That's one of his good lines. And it's like, that's what they have become.
That was a Trump line.
So, maybe Trump. I think he slightly altered it from. Well, Trump. No, it was just
corporate.
It was maybe corporate. But that they are all getting what they deserve at this point. You know what I mean? I have no sympathy.
No,
when
me
these
neither.
like the Media Matters people that all just got laid off.
We didn't talk about that.
Like,
yes,
incredible. Like,
enjoy your retirement.
Yeah, exactly.
Media Matters for America is this disgusting organization, the audience knows, whose only mission is to just destroy conservatives who are in the public space.
I'm an alt-right homophobe.
Or media space.
You know.
An alt-right homophobe.
Yeah,
you must be self-loathing.
I am homophobic, but it's only because I'm married to a guy, which it can be it's a lot.
It depends on the homo.
You know? Yeah, I'm homophobic for one person. Yeah.
No, I know that those leftists are always saying I have internalized misogyny. Yeah. Whenever I criticize a woman, it's my internalized misogyny working it out.
No, it's dripping off you right now.
I don't hate all women, just quite a few.
It's just some.
In left-wing media.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yes, it's wonderful to see Media Matters for America go down and their people get fired, and I hope they never work in, quote, media again. Not that what they were doing was media. And I have zero sympathy for the Washington Post. I'm enjoying this too, and we'll see. Like CNN, it'll be interesting to see if they can save it, right? CNN tried to pivot under new ownership. They brought in Chris Licht. He was a disaster, but does that mean that CNN could not rebuild over a decade? I have my doubts.
The thing is, these things are institutions, so they exist. Even the death, everyone is always like, oh, mainstream media is dead, but it doesn't just die overnight, right? Like, it's like there's so much money there. Literally the buildings exist. So these things don't just collapse overnight. That's why the tar pit reference for me works, because it's like a slow death. And then when you're watching them die, then you watch more of them like jump onto them and die. And that's kind of what they're all doing. And by the way, wouldn't it be nice, even though we are now alt media or whatever you want, online media, whatever this is, wouldn't it be refreshing if tomorrow the Washington Post was better? Wouldn't you love to report that? Like, I really would. If they were all better and that hampered my views or even my business, I actually would be okay with that because I want this country to be better.
Yeah,
And,
Washington Post is like, Woodward and Bernstein, like these are the guys who we all, and that's been revisited too. I mean, I think in modern day America, Nixon wouldn't have resigned and we still would have had a Republican president.
Yeah.
Anyway, somebody was asking me who was president when I was born the other day, and I was like, my God, it was President Nixon. And then honestly, it was like saying Martin Van Buren. I like, that is so long ago.
Jimmy Carter.
So ancient. Okay, so that's Washington Post. We're in Connecticut.
We are.
President Biden was here last night for a fundraiser. He's so annoying. He continues to shut down all the traffic around every place I live. And he decided to use the CF word for the first time at this meeting, apparently saying, it's not on camera, otherwise I'd play it for you. But here's what he said at this fundraiser. For the first time in American history, a former president that is a convicted felon is now seeking the office of the presidency. But as disturbing as that is, more damaging is the all-out assault Donald Trump is making on the American system of justice. And then I'll get to the third part in a minute. But so this is interesting to me. So he's dropping the CF word, right? Convicted felon, and continuing what we've heard from the Democrats in the wake of the verdict. You have to like it. You will accept it and you will like it. And if you
Suddenly
criticize
they love
it,
the rule of law. It's incredible.
right? If you criticize it, you are doing an all-out assault on the system of justice.
Well, irony is dead. I guess that would be the bumper sticker on this one. First off, you had an incredible interaction with Dan Abrams about all the flaws in the prosecution and the way they treated the defense and everything else. And Donald Trump for all the bravado and everything else. Everyone knows this would not have happened if he was not running for president. The idea that it's a hush money payment that maybe got miscategorized, that somehow makes it related to election interference, it's all a complete farce. But the thing is, do you think he's going to end up in jail?
No.
So I do, actually.
Oh, God.
I think that the system has shown consistently it will do whatever it has to do to stop him. And now with 34, with all 34, when they're not indictments, they're 34 convictions.
Yeah.
With all 34 convictions going up, how can the judge suddenly be like, when this comes to July 11th, how can the judge be like, you know what, I thought about it, we've had time to think about it, and actually we're just going to, give him probation or a fine. I think the judge...
He's not a prior offender. And because while the judge has issued jail time on these offenses before, it was when the falsification of business records was to cover up like a real crime, a dark, serious felony, not this bullshit.
So I'm not saying it's legit in any way. I just think the entropy of the way everything is going lends itself to Trump ending up in jail because of this, because the judge will be like, oh.
Can't rule it out.
Yeah. And the other problem is, I know you know this, that on the appeal side, there are 5 black female Supreme Court justices in New York. They wanted diversity, and they actually got the least diverse thing. Now, I know, of course, that your skin color and gender...
The Supreme Court is the lowest court in New York. Court of Appeals is the highest court.
Wait, so the Supreme...
There's not 5 female...
Oh, so it's not going to the New York Supreme...
No,
nice
I know New York is a wacky...
Oh, okay.
New York has a weird name for its courts. Supreme Court is the lowest court, is the trial court.
So that's not the appeals court?
No.
That's refreshing.
It'll go up to the appellate division, first department.
I like being corrected on air, by the way. That's actually very refreshing.
It's good news.
Yeah.
And then it'll go up to the Court of Appeals.
So it goes to them first.
First, it'll go to the appellate division, first department,
right,
which is the area that he was tried in, like Manhattan. And then it'll go up to the Court of Appeals, which is our highest court. I know. I don't know why they call the Court of Appeals the highest court.
Interesting. All right. Well, at least I had a
But anyway, I mean, look,
a legit error. Okay.
His judicial prospects remain bleak. That's true, unless and until it gets to SCOTUS, where he actually does have more than a fair shot at getting all of this nonsense reversed.
Isn't it just incredible, though, if you just look at the fundraising numbers, it sounds like he's gotten about $100 million since this thing, and you look at the polling numbers, I don't know do you know one person that post this decision is like, you know what, I'm not voting for Trump, or is scared by the convicted felon thing? I suppose they exist.
You mean who was going to vote for him before?
Yeah, and suddenly, no, but the people that were kind of on the fence that I know, these guys that I play basketball with, who were all just kind of like moderate, whatever, they're all about Trump now.
Yeah, and not only that, but I know Republican donors who are like, on Trump, who just opened up their wallets to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
I mean, they're pissed. It's a Kavanaugh-esque moment.
As a republic, we cannot survive if you are going to jail political candidates. Even if you think that this is the most horrific thing that Donald Trump did by paying off the porn star and somehow it had something to do with campaign finance, even if you believe that, it is still not good. To me, you'd have to let him out either way, because if you think that at the end, if Donald Trump is either taken off the ticket or jailed or whatever they could do to him, if you think that that will make America better at the end of this, that somehow things that the average person will be like, oh, that did really work, and now we've got dementia guy again and everything's fine. No, it will make it all so much worse.
It better. I mean, that's what I've been saying for a couple of days now, is that we must make it worse. Now we're on this train. There's no getting off of it until the train goes, smash into the side of the mountain.
That's why I'm saying
then we can restart.
But that's why I'm saying he ends up in jail in a weird way, because the energy is just like, yes, they will do everything possible.
Yeah, only Republicans and normies have been like, no, we shouldn't do that. No, this is wrong. And that's why it's like now we're at the point of no return. Fine, it's on. We tried to be in denial about your plans and who you were and, our love of country. The gloves are off, the mask is off, and now it's on. It's UFC. I'm sorry because it's the United States of America, but this is the only way to save it. And then we'll get back to normal. But we're not getting back to normal by keeping our hands clean.
Isn't that interesting? It sort of feels like we needed to go through this in a weird way. We've been in this slow descent to hell for a long time. And now the mask is coming off. I was a big DeSantis guy during the primary. But in retrospect now, I do feel, well, first off, I'm very happy that he's my governor again, because I think the states have a lot more, should have and do have a lot more to do with your life on a day-to-day basis than, so I'm very happy he's back. And as a Floridian, I'm very happy he's back. But in another way, now seeing everything they're doing to Trump, it's like he is the only one that could fight this thing. He may not win this fight, and then it will be very bad for all of us. But we needed to get to this moment. And again, we will see, because if they put him in jail, then
one of the things we need to do either way, I don't care who wins, is we need to shrink the executive.
Yes, absolutely.
Like cases like Chevron deference at the Supreme Court was just trying to decide how much power those agencies around the president actually have versus Congress, the lawmakers who actually do answer to us. I know Congress is not great, but at least they answer to us. We can kick them out after 2 years in the House and 6 in the Senate. We have given the executive far too much power. That was never the vision of the founders. And we never wanted a king, and they're getting a little king-like. I'm sick of it. And if Trump wins, one good thing will be the left will agree with me that we need to shrink the powers of the presidency.
Right.
And maybe we'll do something. I want to show you, we have James Comey, who was asked, I love that we go to this guy like he's this objective
he's
pundit,
so subjective.
Right? Like, sure, give me your point of view on whether Trump could go to jail. Like, how would they do it? So this is one of the questions everybody is wondering. And here's what he said. Look at SOT 2.
Do you agree with that it would be difficult or nearly impossible for the law enforcement institutions to put him in actual jail?
No, they would just put him in a double wide somewhere out near the fence, out in the grass. And he would eat there, he'd shower there, he'd exercise there, he'd be away, as Danya Perry said, from general population, but it's obviously doable.
So he will basically be put in solitary confinement for writing legal expenses instead of hush money payment for what? 4 years? Was that what James Comey would like? Honestly, that's where we put our most violent felons. Not that Trump wants to rub elbows, I'm sure, with a lot of the people he would be at Rikers with.
Although they probably like Trump.
But this is the problem in trying to put a former president behind bars.
It's just patently absurd. But again, you can see the way they're seeding the ground, or they're seeding the fertilizer, basically, to put him in jail. They're already discussing what kind of cell he would be in.
The double wide.
Yeah.
Luxury.
And where it will be, where the location will be, and what he will eat, and how he'll get his hair cut. And they'll tell you all of the things. And does any of this, that's what I'm always curious about, particularly with MSNBC, which has just become absolute pure state propaganda at this point. Do these guys realize what they are doing to the country? I don't know. Look, you worked with a lot of these types of people.
No.
Do they have any sense of what they are unleashing?
They think they're saving it. I can tell you personally that
everyone thinks they're the good guy.
Many people over at that place, and I didn't really spend that much time with MSNBCers, but I know a couple who really believe that your character is defined by whether you are for or against Trump. And they really think kind of like Sam Harris, that the ends justify the means. Forgive me, Sam. That's short forming those controversial remarks, but you know what I'm talking about. That he must be stopped, and that this is nothing. And you've heard them. You've heard, was it David Frum, who was out there saying, look, this isn't the best crime to get him on, but we needed to get him on something. He's been gotten. Yeah. That's the important thing.
It's such a terrible
He's done so many things he's gotten away with. No one's going to cry any tears for this.
It's such a sad failure of what I would say many of the old school liberals used to believe. Because, Frum, I guess he's somewhat of a conservative or something like that, but the Sams of the world, that whole crew, it's such a damn shame because it does not matter if you're left or right, or if you're Republican, Democrat, or anything else. Like, if you just look at what's going on in the country, was immigration better or worse under Trump? It was obviously better. Was the economy better or worse under Trump? You have to factor COVID in, but pre-COVID, it was way better. Internationally, were things better or worse under Trump? Way better. We had peace in the Middle East and there were more deals on the way.
We didn't have a Ukraine war either.
We didn't have a Ukraine war. We didn't have all of the psychotic wokeness in schools. It was bubbling up, obviously. But the point is, if you just went through the laundry list that liberals are supposed to care about, true liberals, or any just moderate, sane person, everything was better under Trump, which is why people like us have begrudgingly, I would say, come to this side of the equation. I would never think that I'd be here, but I do care about truth.
Right. I'm not like, I'm not part of Trump's cult. You know what I mean? As they say, or like, I'm not under his spell. That's what I want to say. I'm not part of his Trump. But I support the guy because I support what he did to the country, right? It's not my own personal grievances with Trump. That's not what makes me pull the lever or not.
And you could, by the way, you could have grievances. You would have legit grievances.
Yes,
I think he's gone after you.
Sure. I mean, I could. But why would I do that to my country and myself? I count myself in the people who would benefit from a Trump presidency. My children. I care much more about them than I do about, he was not nice to me, and after I asked him tough questions. That's all bullshit. That's why people are like, why? How could you vote for Trump? They feel betrayed. It's like, because I care about the country. But I also I'm not so threatened by a Joe Biden second term, and I am threatened by it, that I would breach like crazy ass norms. All the stuff I'm suggesting we do in lawfare, like the tit for tat, isn't because I'm so fearful of a Joe Biden presidency second term. It's because they're corrupting our justice system, and the only way to right the ship now that they've kicked it on its side is to kick it the other way so we can wind up straight up again.
Exactly. By the way, I would say you should be afraid of another Joe Biden presidency.
Well, I mean,
for many reasons, but I would say the main reason would be that we don't know who is the real president.
But I think we'll survive it. I'm not one of those leftists looking at Trump like the democracy will not survive. We will survive a second Joe Biden term if we must.
Well, I would say we will survive and that the United States will be here. But 4 more years of what's going on right now at the border, if nothing else, like that actually isn't really survivable over long term. You can't.
No, it's terrifying.
At some point, you can't have 20 plus million people in a country have no idea where they are, what they're doing, what their beliefs are, and everything else. Especially with the backdrop of October 7th, it's like it's not a sustainable.
It's very
thing.
scary.
But I agree. I'm not like one of the hysterics, like, oh my God, it's going to just all collapse like that. But there will be a slow motion collapse, sort of like what's happening in a lot of the European countries.
The immigration thing, you're right, that's fundamentally changing the country. And I read a great Victor Davis Hanson piece. He's always worth reading.
He's so good, yeah.
He was lamenting the snotty current generation that has absolutely no gratitude for what came before them and the greatness of this country as we're approaching D-Day, right? Like, they're not grateful. They're entitled, and they're kind of ruining the country. And he talked about how these rebels who were protesting on all the college campuses in the 60s are now on the inside, corrupting them, like at Northwestern and the University of Illinois, Bernardine Dorn, Bill Ayers, all these folks. And sort of there's no gratitude for how we got here for America. But the second point that he made in that article was, the melting pot is done. These people are coming in. They don't want to assimilate. They used to come from all over the world because they wanted to be American. They wanted to wear the Levi jeans. Sorry, even they have a shitty brand now thanks to what they've done. But they wanted to wear the jeans, and they wanted to wear the cowboy hats, and they wanted to like go to McDonald's and be free, be able to say the things and, not have to worry about all the censorship and everything, the authoritarian stuff. And now they want to import their culture here. So now it's it's a conflict waiting to happen.
Did you see a couple weeks ago, Ayaan Hirsi Ali was on some podcast, I think it was Trigonometry, and she was talking about that, how the West is now, she's watching the West become more like the places that these people fled. So she obviously grew up in Somalia, survived genital mutilation and a forced marriage, and her life story is just extraordinary. But she's become one of the like premier freedom fighters in the world,
and the most brilliant,
and just brilliant and lovely, and like she's just. I always tell her, like, if angels are actually on earth, she actually might be an angel. There's just something so wonderful about her, and just everything that she has lived through to become a freedom fighter. You know, she could have just said, "I want out altogether, and I'm just going to disappear," but she's still fighting. But we all thought that everyone would come here and that the melting pot would put all of that stuff aside. And what they've suddenly done is they've taken the beautiful stew of the melting pot and they're starting to sift it so that we're all separating again. And that's why the immigration thing, you know, Breitbart used to say that politics is downstream from culture. The line I keep saying now is that everything is downstream from immigration. And that really is true. If you don't know who is here and you don't know what your neighbors believe, and then you allow all the criminal stuff and that drugs are coming through, that is the thing that makes me more like, oh, I don't know if we can survive it. Again, it's not that we're just going to collapse and the United States won't exist in 4 years. But at some point, if you have nothing in common with your neighbors, if when you get on the train to go to New York City, you're looking around and you're like, I have no idea what these people believe. Mm-hmm. Oh, nobody's speaking the same language. That is the thing that over time. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at London. You go to London, like, it's not London's of 20 years ago.
Germany too. But we do have the power to deport these people. And so where I put the hope is, even if we have Joe Biden 2.0, and trust me, it's not what I want, there will be a backlash after that. And somebody will get in there and start deporting these people. It has to happen. You saw in the paper today, those two cops got shot by the guy from Venezuela, let in under Joe Biden. And it just turned out, actually, this just broke before you came on, his immigration case had been dismissed. Had been dismissed entirely. In other words, he was basically given the green light to be here. Insane. His name is Bernardo Castro Mata, 19. He had a hearing in Chicago on May 6th where an immigration judge closed his case, according to ICE sources. This is via the New York Post. In addition to allegedly shooting these two NYPD officers, thank God they lived. Yeah. Mata is suspected of helping to attack two women, one of whom was slugged in the face during a pair of snatch and grab robberies days before. So this keeps happening, right? So more and more of this, and there will build a will amongst the American populace to deport, mass deportations.
And you think that could actually put enough pressure on a Biden administration? Again, we don't know who's running it to do it. So then where's the silver lining?
After him.
Oh, so you think if we can get through another 4 years of him somehow, that suddenly, I think that's a huge risk. You know, if you could tell.
I'm not making the argument that this should be our choice. Yeah. I'm saying believe in America and believe in the sanity of the American people. You know, there's only so much they can take. And the same way their empathy and their tolerance including my own, got us in this mess with the transgender nonsense. Yeah. Their empathy and all that has got us in this mess with the immigration policies and the open borders. And even my leftist friends, who I know, will see this more clearly if they're subjected to more and more of this. They're already starting to, thanks to the busing program and the civic centers being shut down and the schools being taken over. So I remain hopeful that even if Biden made this problem exponentially worse, there would be an upside, and it would be the punishment and the backlash that would come after.
I look, hopefully Trump gets in so that we can escalate the timeline on what you're talking about. But I certainly, at least the heart of what you're saying, I completely would wish would happen if we have to deal with another 4 years of Biden and everything else, that it'll work. But, you know, do you remember about 10 years ago when I started my show, and so we were, you know, doing news online when it was sort of new, we were always playing videos of what was going on in Europe, just watching all these boats. What we now see happening for the last year, that, by the way, they barely show on mainstream media. Fox shows it, but they barely show it, or very begrudgingly on CNN, et cetera. It's exactly what was happening 10 years ago in Europe. Europe hasn't been able to do the reversal, right? They haven't done the people want it, but the powers that be don't allow it to happen.
Haven't even tried.
So that's what I'm fearful of, that it's like, oh, it will all make sense, and all of us will be like, you have to deport these people, we have to have a country, and it's sort of the same thing that I'm saying with the jail thing with Trump. It's just like the force and the entropy of everything seems to be just going to a worse and worse place. Mm-hmm. There are pockets of goodness. You can find those pockets of goodness where law and order is respected and everything else. But the overall drive, I feel like, is just going in the wrong direction.
You're right.
And by the way, I'm not a black-pilled person. No,
you're right.
You always call me a joyful warrior, and I am, and you are too. And I think that's why we're able to wake up every day and talk about lots of bad stuff and make it light and everything else. But the energy of everything is just going to the wrong direction.
Mm-hmm. So I want to circle back on one thing you said, because you said everything was better under Trump, and I agreed with the first 2 points, certainly immigration and the economy. But then you said the wokeness. And this is my one fear about if Trump wins, because I think the wokeness will get worse. It's like, I think that in part it's a backlash to him. And I do think the wokeness has gone down in terms of its power and its acceptability and its pervasiveness over the Joe Biden presidency. But Trump, he has a way of stirring them up.
Fuel to the fire kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, you're probably right about that. It's not that wokeness was better with Trump, because it was all there. Now it's just burst forth everywhere, and you're right. Now the average mother who maybe wasn't paying attention to any of this suddenly is finally like, all right, they're actually telling my son that he's my daughter. Like, we're not playing this game anymore. So it's not that it was better under him. It's that maybe now society has shifted enough that it's sort of the same argument.
He at least started battling it.
Yeah.
I mean, too little, too late, in my opinion, but I think he's much more aware of it all now. Like, if he came back in, he'd be much more, he did listen when Chris Rufo was like, you're pushing DEI at all these federal agencies. Why are you doing that? And Trump was like, oh my God, why am I doing that? And we got rid of that.
Yeah.
That was great. And he restored sanity on college campuses with his Title IX revisions, correcting what Obama had done. That was great. But I think rightfully, he was focused on some very core engines of the American economy and so on, and he did a great job with that. I think this time around, he'd be more primed to understand that they've been fighting this cultural battle, that you're the leader of the opposition, right? Like, that's one of the reasons many people voted for you, is to lead the fight to that nonsense. And I think he will be primed to do that. I think he'll reverse a lot of what we've seen.
Well, that's why it's so damn dangerous with what they've done with this guy, because whether you like him or not, or all of the character flaws and all of the name calling and all of that stuff, he is not Hitler. He is not a racist.
They literally say that.
He doesn't hate gay people or anything else. And again, not perfect, but they've ramped it up with him. So you're right. When you look at that clip of Comey and you watch these MSNBC people, and I'm always trying to think, what is going on in their brains? Are they propagandists? Do they believe it or whatever? But they have sent this information into the world, and there is a certain set of people, and they're generally people who vote, that believe pure nonsense.
Yeah, they genuinely think Trump is an evil man. Let's spend a minute on Hillary Clinton.
Speaking of evil.
Yeah, exactly. Who amazingly, has been out there celebrating the Trump conviction. Now, we played this the other day, but I'll show it to the audience if you missed it. SOT 3. Here she was after he was convicted at a speech.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Anything going on today?
Okay. Then, that was at the Vital Voices Global Partnership Awards, whatever that is. Then, look at this.
Oh.
She put out this mug. We'll put it on the screen. You can see it here on my notes.
Yeah,
Have you seen this?
I haven't seen it. I see a little one on your notes.
It's a mug that's got like an outline of her, and she's sipping a coffee, and it reads, "Turns out she was right about everything."
My God.
She tweeted it out, writing, or on Insta, "We recently had some new merch made based on a phrase I hear a lot. The design happened to be finalized today." This is the day of the conviction. "With your purchase, you'll support blah, blah, blah." Okay.
Wow. You've got to admire the evil in some way. You really do.
This is what makes me say,
Yeah.
we need Steve Bannon.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard you saying that the other day. Yeah.
That's, who could argue with me? It's just, she's out there saying, I was right about everything and celebrating his conviction. She is the original felon. She's the original election denier.
Yes.
And she's the original felon.
She spent, and the entire Democrat machine and all of mainstream media spent 4 years of this guy's presidency saying he was an illegitimate president.
Yes.
You were allowed to question elections. We can do the laundry list of stuff. That she has the gall to put that out. It is so, when I wrote about this in my second book, I talked about the Alien. Remember the original Alien movie with Sigourney Weaver? Yeah. And you remember at the end, the aliens killed everybody on the ship, and now the doctor, who's a robot, it's just his head, and he's talking to Sigourney Weaver, and he admires the alien. Even though it's killed everybody and destroyed all their research and everything else, he admires the alien not because of what the alien did, but the alien did whatever it set out to do, right? It was relentless. It was merciless, all of this stuff. And that's really what they are. They will jail everybody. They will ruin democracy. They will tell you that the good guys are the bad guys and the bad guys are the good guys. And they will just keep doing it. And the rest of us, and this is why you're right about the lawfare and how it has to flip. It's the only way to reverse things. The rest of us will just be like, oh, things are worse today.
Right.
And things are worse today. And then it's 4 months later and you're like, it's worse than it was 4 months ago. And you don't know how to reverse it because they are so committed to the cause that every lie is just another piece of the revolution. It's incredible, actually.
The haughty, like sanctimony.
Yeah.
It is stomach turning. It
Yeah.
really makes me
Yeah.
want to take that mug and,
Wow.
let's just say smash it on the floor. Smash it on the floor. That's what it makes me want to do.
Yeah. I thought we were going to get one of the Megyn Kelly F-bomb moments there.
No.
Or something like the F-bomb moment,
No,
which the people love. The people love it.
I only do it when it comes to me naturally.
Yeah.
Dave. It can't be affected.
Yes,
Yeah,
understood,
it's got to be an
understood.
organic F-bomb.
I'll see what I can do here to get one out of you.
I'm sure we'll get there eventually. I just can't get over her. She's just a nightmare. So that's her. Let's see. Do we have time to do Fauci? We don't have time to do Fauci, do we? How much time do we have left? Yeah, we have time to do Fauci. That's plenty. We have 8 minutes to break. Okay, so Fauci goes on Capitol Hill yesterday. He's getting cross-examined by all these House members on his terribleness. This is the moment I want to show you. He actually cried for himself.
Oh, I don't think I saw this.
And his daughters.
Oh.
The Daily Mail had a post on it today, which is how I saw it. Watch this.
So, Dr. Fauci, can you please share with us the nature of the threats you have received since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Yes, there have been everything from harassments by emails, texts, letters of myself, my wife, my 3 daughters. There have been credible death threats leading to the arrests of 2 individuals, and credible death threats means someone who clearly was on their way to kill me. And it's required my having protective services essentially all the time. It is very troublesome to me. It is much more troublesome because they've involved my wife and my 3 daughters.
At these moments, how do you feel?
Oh, my Lord.
Keep your mic on.
Terrible.
Do you continue to receive threats today?
Yes, I do. Every time someone gets
Dingle.
up and says I'm responsible for the death of people throughout the world, the death threats go up.
Well, you are.
He is.
No one feels sorry for you. No one. Can you believe that?
Megyn, have you ever received a mean email or a mean text?
You want to see my death threats? Let's go over the past 10 years.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, dude, you lied about everything. He has now admitted that 6-foot social distancing was nonsense.
Yep.
Why is it? Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a genius, but I always thought it was nonsense. I always thought it was nonsense that if you went to a restaurant, that for some reason when you were sitting, COVID couldn't get you, and if you were standing, it could get you. I always thought it was odd that when you were on a plane, you could put on a mask. You had to put on a mask to sit on a plane, but you could eat with, like all of. Again, I'm not a freaking genius. I'm just a human being. Most of us could see through the nonsense, but then there's this part of most people that wants to behave and not be called all the mean things and everything else. So he subsequently has admitted that 6-foot social distancing was nonsense. 2 months into COVID, remember there was the email that he sent, his friend sent him an email, I think saying we're going to Cabo, we're going to Mexico, do the kids have to wear masks? And he said masks don't work.
Yep.
He also claims that he had nothing to do with school closures, which there's tons of video evidence, right? Like every single thing, on top of the fact that they pushed a vaccine that they literally literally had to redefine the word vaccine. It's not a vaccine. It does not stop you from getting nor transmitting COVID.
No.
They colluded with big tech to silence people as it relates to all of this. I have no sympathy for that man. And if there was any justice, you want to talk about the justice thing and how we reverse this, all of the bad stuff we're talking about, he should be in jail. I am not for just running around and jailing everybody, but it would represent that we did something so horrific to you people, to all of the entire world. And he was basically the number one guy.
He, in all the Fauci sound bites I've seen, I have yet to see him shed a tear.
Yeah.
For the
Isn't that
dead,
something?
for the children who suffered because of his unsupported mandates over and over, issued with hubris and no empathy for the people who are going to be affected, the children who are going to be affected in particular, the people who lost their jobs because of the vaccine mandates that he was behind. Not one even quivering lip. It only happens when it's about him.
It's so twisted. The people that didn't get to go to their mother or grandmother's funeral.
Right.
Like, just think of that.
Who watched their spouses die through a window in the hospital.
And it was all, can I do it?
Yes.
It was all bullshit. Like,
Right.
It really was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. How is it? Why was I was running illegal parties at my house in California and nobody was dropping dead.
Right.
And you know that right before you came to one of my illegal parties there, and it was nobody dropped dead. Right before I left, so I had already decided we were moving to Florida, and it was like 3 days before we were moving, and I was like, I'm going to go out. I haven't been to a restaurant in 2 years because of COVID, and then you had to have a passport. So I had one of my employees fake a vaccine passport for me, and I go to Boa's Steakhouse on Sunset. It was my favorite place in LA, and I go, and it was awful. You couldn't sit at the bar. You know, the waiters were all wearing masks. It was terrible. But I'm sitting there. We're having dinner. And again, I'm already leaving. So this is my goodbye to LA dinner. And then I realized there were a couple tables of people that recognized me. That happens, obviously. But then I was like, wait a minute. They think I'm a liar because I'm at a restaurant where you need a COVID passport. So these people who like me must think that I actually lied. And so I literally went up to 3 tables of people to say, guys, just FYI, this was made by my employee. It's a fake passport.
They were probably like, why are you explaining that to us?
No, they were like, wait, that's
okay.
Dave. Well, who are you though? Yeah. But it was like, I was like, what a perfect way to leave this place.
Yeah, right.
I have to go up to people to tell them I'm not a liar because of and that's just like
I am a liar, just not the kind you think.
Exactly.
I lied about this.
I lied about
but
this.
Not the other thing.
Not the other thing, exactly. But I was just like, what a perfect way to leave this place. And that's just like a very small example of the stupidity that we allowed this man to proliferate through society.
So I can't stand him.
Yeah.
I am deeply resentful of this man and what he did to all of us. And that's why I support the heckler who sat behind him throughout this testimony, making faces.
Yeah.
And he's very upset about it now. Here is it. Yeah. Okay. Watch this. Okay. Look, there's his face. He was doing that when Fauci was crying. He's not feeling any empathy at all for Anthony Fauci.
Good for that guy.
I know. It turns out he's a J6 defendant.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We just looked it up. His name is Brandon Fellows. Via The Independent, who served one of the toughest prison sentences yet for the insurrection, says The Guardian. And Fauci's very upset, saying, what's somebody like that doing at a hearing about COVID? Maybe the reason he was at J6 is because he was upset about the lockdowns and the insanity that you foisted on the American people. One last thing.
Yeah.
Here's Fauci saying people like you and me and others who tried to call him out on his BS are the problem.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to this,
I think the American public should listen to America's brightest and best doctors and scientists, or instead listen to podcasters, conspiracy theorists, and unhinged Facebook memes.
Listening to people who you've just described is going to do nothing but harm people because they will deprive themselves of life-saving interventions, which has happened. And some have done studies. Peter Hotez has done an analysis of this and shows that in people who refuse to get vaccinated for any variety of reasons, probably responsible for an additional 200,000 to 300,000 deaths in this country.
Thank you, sir, and your entire team for saving lives in this country. And I'm sorry you have to continue going on with these attacks. I yield back.
Oh, my God. Be quiet, Mr. Garcia.
Us. He's talking about us.
Yeah.
Like me, you, Rogan, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
That is so absolutely insane. most of us said, I don't know, talk to your doctor. Think about your own
300,000 deaths by raising questions about the vaccines.
How, that line where, remember when he said, he basically said, I am the science.
Yeah.
When you question me, you're questioning science. It's like, dude, that's Palpatine in the prequels. So like,
Truly,
I am the Senate.
He's got a God complex.
He has a God complex. You're so right that somehow he can show no remorse and his only pity party is for himself. Why not? Like, but that's why I compare it to the alien thing, because it's like, dude, why not get up there and be like, I actually did make some mistakes and it was happening very fast, but none of it. And then to blame us.
For the families who suffered because of him, not for himself. More with Dave straight ahead. Let me tell you a story about a guy named Leo Grillo. Leo was on a road trip and came across a Doberman. This dog was severely underweight and clearly in trouble. Leo rescued the dog and named him Delta. Sadly, Delta was just one of many animals that needed help, though. And this inspired Leo to start Delta Rescue, the largest no-kill, care-for-life animal sanctuary in the world. They've rescued thousands of dogs, cats, and horses from the wilderness, and they provide their animals with shelter, love, safety, a home. April marked 45 years since Leo rescued Delta. Delta Rescue relies solely on contributions. So if you want caring for these animals to be part of your legacy, speak with your estate planner, because there are tax benefits here too. You could grow your estate while letting your love for animals live well into the future. Check out the estate planning tab on their website to learn more and speak with your advisor. We call dog a man's best friend for a reason. You can help those who need it most. Visit deltarescue.org today to learn more. deltarescue.org. Just in case you haven't heard, it's Pride Month. That time of year when people's personal sex lives must be celebrated, seemingly at every store in every city, online, you name it. Here's the Naval Special Warfare Command, which oversees the Navy SEALs.
In the Navy.
Yes. The guys who go on missions to do things like kill Osama bin Laden. They're reaching out to celebrate Pride Month. Okay. And of course, there are all the parades. Nothing says pride quite like strutting around nearly naked at times in front of young children. It's so fun to show off your private parts to the youth. And it's not just private citizens. It seems the FBI is getting involved now, not to police things. It would be nice if we had their help on those things, but to march in the Pride Parade while wearing FBI gear. The Daily Wire's Matt Walsh has a great piece. It's behind the paywall over at Daily Wire, but it's well worth your time. Pointed this out. This is the same FBI that's launched investigations into parents who worry about indoctrination in our schools. No wonder they don't like these parents. They're the ones out on these gay pride parades showing their fannies. And speaking of children, not only is there drag queen story hour, but now popular YouTuber Ms. Rachel, this is another thing Walsh is going off about, who makes videos for babies, wants conservative parents to know she's about love. And if you don't agree with her, well, she definitely doesn't need you.
Happy Pride to all of our wonderful families and friends. This month and every month I celebrate you. I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're exactly who you are. To those who are going to comment they can't watch the show anymore because of the support, no worries and much love your way. God bless. I am not chasing fame or views. I'm standing strong in love.
Oh my Lord. She reminds me of that little Ruby. What's her name? The one who the mom died. She had the boyfriend kill the mom. She was Munchausen's by proxy. Why am I forgetting her name? That's who she reminds me of. She's got like the little hands.
I'm not sure who you're talking about.
Come on, you guys. Where's my team?
Little hands?
Gypsy Rose. That's what she reminds. The way she talks. Hold on, I'm not done.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And that brings us to another story that will likely pop up over and over this month. Anti-Israel demonstrators, you heard Dave mention it, coming literally face to face with pride marchers. I mean, it was a clash of intersectionality at this event in Philadelphia. Watch this. It's not going well. No. No pride in genocide. They don't know where to stand. I don't know what to say because they got the midriff bared and the keffiyeh scarf on their heads. And they're at the pride thing, but then, they don't really like the gays in Palestine. Dave Rubin, make it make sense.
The village people are fighting jihadists on the street of Philadelphia. Like, what has happened here?
They needed the FBI.
Do you remember that video? It was one of the first viral videos that ever went. This is from 15 years ago or so. The little kid coming back from the dentist. I think his name was David.
Yes, he was all high.
And he's all high and he's laying back there and he turns to the father and he's like, is this real life? That's what I think basically every day. Like, we literally have jihadists on the street fighting with people dressed up like the village people. And to me, I'm basically like the scientist at the end of all the Godzilla movies when Godzilla's fighting the other big monster, and it's let them fight.
Yeah,
let them fight.
Go
you guys,
for it.
This was exactly what was going to happen if you fools, because gays for Palestine is very different than Palestine for gays. And if you idiots didn't realize what was going to happen here with your intersectional matrix that you all thought it was going to be a bunch of transformers that come together to build a great robot, and this thing is going to collapse in the most spectacular way, and we're watching it happen. But Miss Rachel, so we've got two young boys.
Why does she talk like that with the little hands? Just like the little dinosaur hands, or what is it, alligator hands?
I'll send you some funny Miss Rachel videos that are not appropriate for the daytime things. Because people take the things that she says to kids and they put them out of context. But anyway, we don't do any television with our kids, except for the first few months we did do Miss Rachel. And Miss Rachel, and it's because it's actually, she doesn't do a lot of crazy jump cuts. You can see it's thoughtful. She's doing stuff with the mouth as it pertains to speaking. Like, it's really thoughtful what she does. And she's a child educator, so it's not just like putting them in front of like Blue's Clues and they're slammed with insanity.
Though
right?
I loved Blue's Clues.
We stopped anyway, like 6 months ago. We were just like, there's just no need for TV altogether. So we don't do anything except occasionally I put on some animals and we talk about what the sounds that the animals make. But anyway, to watch her now go in this route, it makes no sense because her videos are not for kids that have any cognition as it would pertain to gender or sexuality or anything. It's not even for 5-year-olds. It's for 2-year-olds or 1-year-olds. So the idea that she felt that she had to put this video out shows you once again, the woke virus destroys everything. And then what she did, you smirked at it right at the end, where she's basically like, and if you don't agree with me, go with love. But that's not really what you mean. Please. That's not really what you mean, because what you really mean is if you don't come along with me on this adventure, then you're the hater, but I talk like
you're
this.
The bigot.
So it sounds like love. And also, if I'm not mistaken, she's now bringing Dylan Mulvaney onto the channel.
Yes,
or something.
so she's got some partner.
What?
Okay, so this is from Matt Walsh. He's got the article. Again, it's called Pride Month Madness Begins, and it's dated June 3rd at the Daily Wire. Go check it out. But he's blowing the lid off of this woman, and he says, Rachel's co-host, Jules, who identifies as, quote, a white, non-binary, trans mask human. What the fuck is that? There you go.
There we go.
What is that?
There we go. Yeah.
What is it?
I don't know.
White, non-binary, trans mask human, and claims that as a 2-year-old, she realized something's not right with her body. That's her co-host. And then he says, then Miss Rachel personally invited Dylan Mulvaney on the program to sing a song for children. So there you've got your boys sitting there innocently watching like ABCs, and boom, there's a fake woman who mocks women for a living on there singing to them probably about his girlhood.
It's just so psychotic. This is for little toddlers to hear about the alphabet. Why you would inject this. And also her thing about like, I don't do it for the clicks or whatever, something like that. It's like, it's very easy to say, lady, when if you look at her videos on YouTube.
Sure, Jan.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Sure, Jan. It's like, come on. But again, it infects literally everything. Once you let the virus in, the virus is there just like the alien to destroy everything. And my kids, we weren't watching it anyway, but they will never watch that again.
This really is sick. And he goes on to talk about how, it's like, he says the real point here is not to be loving. The real point is to encourage kids to be indoctrinated into lies and falsehoods, which they depend on them to carry through to their education systems and their work systems eventually, and so on.
Megyn, I am married to a man. We have been together for 15 years. We have 2 kids. I know that can be weird for some people. And by the way, I accept that. I don't expect the world to bow to me if people are allowed to have their own religious beliefs and everything else, as long as I'm treated legally, equally under the law. then I'm good to go. And that was the just cause of the gay rights movement.
Yeah.
When it was just. And then unfortunately the activists the activists are supposed to stop when you get equality.
Yeah.
But then they turn it into this giant grift, which is why the second gay marriage, which was a just movement that people could have the same equal rights as everybody else. The second they got that, they moved on to this crazy trans thing because the activists, as Chris Rock says, the cops need a certain amount of crime. The activists need a certain amount of lunacy to grab onto. I fully accept that not everyone will believe in my lifestyle or anything else like that. But again, as long as I'm treated equally, I'm fine. But I'll tell you this, about 3 months ago, my sister has 3 kids, and the 5-year-old, her middle son, suddenly it hit him that there are only 2 men in the house, that we don't have a mommy in the house. And I'm sitting in the pool with him, and he said to me, he's like, Uncle David, where's the mommy around here? And I realized it was not for me to explain anything to him. So fortunately with the 5-year-old, you can just kind of change the topic really quickly. So
totally.
I just changed
shiny.
the topic. But then what did I do? I did the mature thing. I said to my sister as she was leaving, I said, Tal, just so you know, Ilana asked me, blah, blah, blah. And I said, you guys, whatever you guys feel comfortable with, do. But that was me doing the right thing. And yet people have outsourced their parenting to these people that will gladly confuse 2- and 3-year-olds. It's so profoundly insane. And I mean, you went through a version of this with what they were doing with your kids in school in New York and all the stuff that they saw. And again, that's not me saying gay isn't okay or anything else. You know what I mean?
Of course.
Even though I come from a place called Florida where you can't say gay, it's very weird. But like, it's just so profoundly evil. And the worst thing about it is that, you know, as I have been welcomed into more of the right circles or conservative circles, all I get is love from these people. And then there's this weird thing brewing on the right where they're like, oh, see, we let the gays in and now look, they're trying to trans our children. And it's
Not
like
related.
Normal gay people want nothing to do with this.
That's right.
It's actually profoundly anti-gay.
Totally.
Because-
They're doing conversion therapy on gay boys. No, I think LG and B are starting to realize that there's
You better realize
half
quick.
the divorce from T and Q. This is not the same thing at all. And by the way, everything after B is a waste. It's like, don't tell me about your non-binary and it's like what you're saying is you're B. You know, like you're intersex or you're, what do they say when they're everything? Okay. B covers that.
Let's say when you're having fun with your partner, you like to put on a furry mask or whatever these people are doing. Okay, fine. Do that privately. You don't have to bring it out into the streets.
And I don't have to celebrate it at Walmart. Get back. I don't ask you to celebrate what my husband and I do together in the bedroom, and none of it's any of your business.
Well,
I don't need to know about
after the show.
I don't need to know about your weird habits behind closed doors.
But also, that's the problem. That's why the LGBT community, it makes no sense. Your sexuality doesn't make you part of a community. What makes you part of a community is values, right? You have friends. Why do you have friends? Because they hopefully roughly believe in similar things. You want to live in a similar world and everything else. If your community is based on who you have sex with, basically, then it will just keep going to sex, in essence. That's the problem. If you want gay people to be normal, then gay people are normal. But if you want,
depends on the particular man or woman.
Exactly. Everyone's an individual at the end of the day. But if you want people to be functioning members of human society, then you would only judge them on their individual actions and everything else. So the idea of the LGBT community is psychotic. Do you think I have any more insight into the mind of a lesbian than you do? You're a woman. You might have more, right? Yeah. And I have no more insight into the mind of a trans person than you do or anything else. Yet they've lumped this together. And again, that's why intersectionality is so evil. It literally removes the most important thing about being a human, which is what you think and feel and how you act.
I'm so sick of it. It's June 4th today, and it's already everywhere. Can I tell you what happened yesterday?
Uh-oh.
So Strudwick, my very naughty but lovable dog, goes to daycare
Your dog's gay now.
a couple days a week just so that Thunder can have a break from him. He's just so much. So like he chews her ears all day. He's nonstop. So we're like, you know what, Thunder she could use a break from Strudwick. So he goes 2 days a week. He comes back yesterday. Look at this. Put it on the board.
Oh God.
Look how he came home.
They made the dog gay.
Look at the kerchief. He went to gay care, not daycare. He came back wearing rainbow hearts on lollipop sticks all around his little neck. I object. I don't think Strudwick is gay, but I really don't want him participating in the propaganda campaign.
Did you ask them how this?
No, I just know. I thought At first, I thought
it's just so insane.
maybe he got groomed. Maybe Doug took him to the groomer. It was a groomer
There's
thing.
There's a grooming joke here.
There is a groomer thing, but it wasn't the groomer. It was the gay care. So I'm going to have to speak to them about not conversion therapying Strudwick the other way.
Right.
Right.
And I assume he's been fixed already.
Yeah, and he's constantly trying to hump his female sister anyway. He's got other issues.
Right, he's got-
That's the least of his issues.
Do you see how insane they've made everything? You literally send your dog to daycare and something gay comes back.
Why? Why do I have a gay care? I didn't agree to any of this.
And I just know you. If the dog did come out one day, you'd be okay with it. You know, you really would. It would, yeah.
Mommy still loves you.
Yeah.
It's fine. Oh my God, my mom, we always joke in my family because my mom, my entire childhood was like, it's okay if you're gay or if you want to marry somebody from another race. Mom still loves you. You guys do that. And I was at the point where it was like she was pushing it on us.
Wow.
I know. You'd come home and be like, Mom, I have some news. She'd be like, oh, you're like, no, I'm still straight. Yeah. I just got on the honor roll, what have you. Anyway, now it's everywhere. And it's just too much and I don't care.
That's hilarious. No, Mom, I'm not a lesbian. I just got on the honor roll.
Yeah. Sorry. I just got A's this semester. Katy Perry was annoying with her activism. She decided to take, Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, and he made those comments recently. She decided to take those comments and switch them around so that he was saying something he never actually said and have him say Happy Pride. Watch this, Hot 6.
For the ladies present today, congratulations on an amazing accomplishment. You should be proud of all that you have achieved to this point in your young lives. How many of you are sitting here now, about to cross this stage, and are thinking about all the promotions and titles you are going to get in your career? I would venture to guess the women here today are going to lead successful careers in the world. I say all of this to you because I have seen it firsthand, how much happier someone can be supporting women and not saying that the majority of you are most excited about your marriage and the children you will bring into this world. The road ahead is bright. Things are changing, society is shifting, and people young and old are embracing diversity, equity, and inclusion. With that said,
Lord.
I want to say Happy Pride Month to all of you, and congratulations, class of 2024.
It's just so pathetic. Megyn, you are a mother and an extremely successful broadcaster. Which one of those is more important to you?
There's no question, right? There's no question. And honestly, I was saying this on the show, he's been so unfairly criticized. He was offering an antidote to like the general messaging about stay-at-home moms and motherhood. He wasn't condemning working women. Anyway, but Katy Perry saw her roar moment, which is an annoying song. That's an annoying song. I don't like her. I actually don't think she's a good singer.
I don't know that I could tell you one Katy Perry song.
It's like, I kissed a girl and I liked it, and her roar song.
Yeah.
It's like, I barely know who you are. Your best thing was marrying Orlando Bloom, who's hot and was great in all the Lord of the Rings.
Didn't she also marry Russell Brand at one time? Or they were
dating? That's right. It hasn't yet spoken out about that. But anyway, I like Orlando because I like Lord of the Rings. Because Doug has it on constantly right before Ancient Aliens. Anywho, to manipulate the guy's remarks is dishonest and petty. And then when she started to get backlash online, she shut down the comments. She can't take it.
Wow, leftist 101.
Yeah.
It's just, it's the same playbook over and over. It's just so ridiculous because you're right. He even went out in the original unedited speech, he went out of his way to say that some of these things are not for everybody and some of you will go on to great careers and everything else. And he was just talking about his wife. And it's just like every parent knows. Every parent knows. If I have to choose right now, am I going to be a good father for the rest of my life or a good broadcaster? It's just so obvious. It's ridiculous.
Dave, I think he was doing more than that, and I'm okay with it. I think he was also warning.
Yes, he was.
Like the soon-to-be working women there, just like a reminder. Society's kind of engaged right now, full throttle, in selling you a bill of goods. That this is going to be the great fulfilling thing, this big badass career. And he was basically saying there's this other thing that is incredibly meaningful that I'm really blessed. My wife made a different choice. It's worked out great for us. And I'm just reminding you, and not in those words, it wasn't the most articulately phrased, but I said this. I remember speaking to a group of NBC workers before I left there. They wanted me, not like after everything blew up, but before that, to speak to the young women at NBC. And I remember saying to them, I know you invited me here because you see me as this like career woman and you guys are all career women and you want to like talk about how to kick ass. But what I really want to say to you is, if you have that little voice in the back of your head saying like, oh God, I'd really like to, but how can I? And it's going to be hard. And what if I haven't met somebody? Just remember, that's you. That's your heart and your conscience telling you there may be a higher calling pulling you in that direction. And that's totally great. You should listen to it because there is a limited window in which you can make that a thing. There is nothing wrong with that message. And Katy Perry, he wasn't condemning gays either. It's like, so he doesn't believe in gay marriage. That's a shock. That's the official position of the Catholic Church still, which he is.
Yeah, and again, as a gay person, that's he is allowed to have his own personal beliefs, and the Catholic Church is allowed to have his own beliefs. By the way, they don't perform a lot of gay marriages in mosques, but for some reason, the left never says anything about that.
Good point.
Because that's that weird intersectionality thing. I'm fairly certain that at Ilhan Omar's mosque, they have never done a gay marriage. You know what I mean?
Though they have done a sister to a brother.
She's married to her brother, or was married to her
how is
brother.
that not
Why
a
doesn't
bigger
anyone
story?
care about that? That's weirder than your dog coming back with the gay.
Totally.
It's all so insane.
You know,
but I assume you got fired by NBC the day after that.
Officially, I was not fired, though. I lost my show.
Right after that,
Yeah.
they were like, all right.
Though they tried to say later in the news that I was fired, but I'm not allowed to talk about it because of those evil NDAs.
Yes,
but just trust me, there's more to the story.
Yeah, I have no doubt.
So that's that. I'm over it and I'm done with Pride Week and I'm not going to celebrate it anymore. All right, let's talk about Caitlin Clark, though, because that I do want to talk about.
It's the ultimate story of Pride because apparently a black lesbian got to maul a straight white woman and everybody applauded.
Is that Chenedy lesbian?
I don't. She seems kind of lesbian.
You're not allowed to say that. I'm sure your gaydar is wonderful, but no.
Yeah, I can't figure out who's a lesbian.
What do you mean? Why do you think she's a lesbian?
She's kind of lesbian-y. I think that's. But I have no problem
Chenedy?
with.
I don't like your behavior on the court, but I don't know if you're a lesbian.
No, I don't know if she's
there's
a
anything
lesbian.
wrong with that.
Can somebody Google that? Or you have a team?
Okay, we'll look into it.
Yeah.
But she's not we're looking. But she's not a very good sport.
No,
I think
right.
it's fair to say that. So okay, let me get my Caitlin Clark materials because unlike politics, I don't have these facts at the ready.
Okay.
I don't know anything about basketball.
I can help you on the
certainly
basketball front.
don't know anything about women's basketball. But so Caitlin Clark is now playing in the WNBA.
Yeah.
She's finished at Iowa and she's a star. She's huge. She's the biggest star of anybody. And she's changing the numbers for the WNBA in massive ways. Let me just give you my team's info. 2020, the WNBA's average viewers on these, on ESPN, ABC, whatever, 205,000. 2021, 306,000. 2022, 372,000. 2023, 505,000. Now, with Caitlin Clark playing, 2.12 million on May 14th, 1.71 million on May 16th, and 1.5 million on May 18th. These are the highest ratings in more than 10 years. And it is 100% because of Caitlin Clark.
Those are regular NBA ratings. Like if you get a couple million people watching an NBA game, you're pretty happy as a network guy. She is the Michael Jordan. Like I know you're not a major basketball
Him,
person,
I know.
but she is the Michael Jordan of female basketball. Every single player in that league, every single coach, manager, janitor, anyone who has anything to do with that league should be bowing at the altar of this woman. She is transforming the sport into something mainstream, which is what the WNBA was set out to do. And I think it started in 1994 or 1995. They have never had a mainstream star. They have had good players, obviously. They're not good enough to play in the men's league, which is why a women's league exists, and that's okay.
They're not household names.
But yeah, there was Cheryl Swoops 30 years ago. Some people kind of knew her name.
Is that her real name?
Cheryl Swoops.
It's a great name for a basketball player.
And she was quite good. But the point is, you didn't hear about her, right? Like you'd really have to be an insider. Caitlin Clark has now broke that glass ceiling, and they should be bowing at her. She's going to create jobs and money, and she's selling for everybody. So the other one, whether she is a lesbian or not, like she should. To me, you kick her out of the league. She could have broke her neck.
Let's show them what she did.
Yeah.
Okay, so Caitlin Clark was playing in a game against. What's the name of the other team?
It doesn't even matter.
Okay, it doesn't. Chicago.
Matter.
Thank you, Chicago. Let's show it. Show it again. So this girl comes up to her from behind.
The ball is nowhere near them.
So
there's an inbound pass about to come. Like that makes no sense. Like if having watched and played basketball, It just makes no sense that you would do that. Like maybe if there was a pick and you were coming around the pick, you might crash into somebody. That is just abject, blatant. I am trying to hurt that person. And imagine if she had blown out her knee right there.
Look at
That's
this.
it.
And it was her expressing her anger. That's what was happening there.
Yeah.
This wasn't play. This was, I'm angry with you and I'm going to assault you.
And the meme now out on this from, if you watch MSNBC and the rest of it, is that the league, that they're sort of just in their anger at her because she's straight and white and a little prettier than some of the other girls.
That is literally what they're saying.
Yeah, it is literally what they're saying. I think Joy Reid actually said that.
So Sonny Hostin said the following.
Oh, Sonny, yeah,
this is
really
not
went
in
for
response to this, but in response to another one. Listen to Sonny Hostin, Sat 9.
If Caitlin Clark is the vehicle that will bring this sport that I have loved so much and so long to little 5-year-old girls playing in Harlem, I say yes, bravo. Yeah. I have no problem with that. I do think that there is a thing called pretty privilege. There is a thing called white privilege. There is a thing called tall privilege. And we have to acknowledge that. But I do think that she is more relatable to more people because she's white, because she's attractive. And unfortunately, there still is that stigma of against the LGBTQ plus community. 70% of the WNBA is black. A third of the players are in the LGBTQ plus community. I think that people have a problem with basketball playing women that are lesbians. Who cares? They are great athletes. Well,
there is so much lunacy in there. First off, do you see why the perfect example of why I say the LGBTQ plus community makes no sense? What does she mean? 30% of the league is LGBTQ plus. Well, if you mean 30% of the league are lesbians, I'll accept that if that's the proper number. But what do you mean? They're queer plus trans?
They're trans?
Actually, they will have trans. They're going to have a washed up 38-year-old NBA player who's 6'8", 250, and he's going to realize I'm averaging 1 point and I actually just got cut from the Knicks, and I'm going to go and I'm going to average a triple-double, 30 points a game, and I'm going to put on a dress and they're going to call me Sally.
And I'm going to make bank.
And then Sonny Hostin will tell, oh my God, it's so great because now it shows that everybody loves the T community. It's absolutely insane. Also, these things that they describe as privilege, that you might be pretty or you might be tall or something, they were just things. They were part of the gestalt of what you were as a human being, right? And
by the way, anyone can be pretty. I'm sick of this bullshit. Just try harder. It's really not that hard. Truly, like, do something about your hair. Maybe try a diet, put a little makeup on. I don't care what you look like naturally. You can make an effort and come across as more attractive than you are. And I don't want to, like, she's very open about how the number of procedures she's had. Like, it's my pretty privilege. Just shut up. Like, either that's important to you, you have that vanity, or you don't, but stop bitching about it.
And the worst part of that, of course, is that the way they would try to racialize sports for anyone that has ever played any sport ever, but particularly basketball, because a lot of black people, it's thought of as more of a black sport or something like that. I play basketball every week. I have never stepped foot on a court anywhere, whether it was Cali or New York or Florida or anywhere, where anyone that racism had anything to do with anything. If you can play,
welcome to the team.
They love you. They love you. It is the great equalizer beyond anything else.
She's been in the WNBA for 2 minutes. There's no reason to hate her other than the amount of attention she's getting and her skin color. I mean, would this be happening to a black Caitlin Clark?
No.
Getting the same amount of attention?
Well, first off, if an angry white woman bashed into the black Caitlin Clark, Sonny would be going crazy and she'd be demanding she'd be kicked out of the league and everything else.
Of the view. Okay, so I'll just quickly. Here's Whoopi Goldberg totally defending what this Chenedy did to Caitlin Clark.
Let's be realistic, okay? This is basketball, okay? This happens in basketball all the time. Angel Reese got with a clothesline the other day. I mean, this is, these are not like, here's the ball. This is get out the way or I'm gonna move you. That's what the game is. So a lot of people, however, are reading this as confrontation. But this is not, they're not playing on the court. They're there to win. And just because they're women, get over yourselves. They're athletes.
I'm sorry.
See, it's female empowerment.
That is such an absolute lie. Absolute lie. Yes, people get hit on a basketball court when you're going for a rebound. You might accidentally smash into somebody. And yes, occasionally you throw an elbow or something. But if anyone was playing in a rec league and they did what that woman did to Caitlin Clark, they would not be invited back. It's that the ball was not in play. She just went to hurt her. That's it.
By the way, my team has corrected me. You pronounce the name, even though it's spelled C-H. You just pronounced it Kennedy, so my apologies to her. Kennedy.
Do we have any information about the lesbian?
No one can find that her sexuality.
Dave I don't think anything's wrong with being a lesbian. So if she is a lesbian, it's great. If she's straight, it's great. If she's queer,
God bless. We don't care what her sexuality is. We care what she did on the court. So Jamel Hill, this is National Review pointing out, she has complained that Caitlin Clark's, quote, race and her sexuality played a role in her popularity, and she is symptomatic of how Black players are erased. Erased. She's bringing more attention to the Black players than they've ever enjoyed ever before because the WNBA is really not that popular.
Did people not like Michael Jordan because he was Black? You know, the one thing that you can say about that where race maybe steeped a little bit into basketball was when in the 80s when Larry Bird and Magic were going at it and the Lakers and the Celtics and there was some racial element to it because it was like Larry Bird was this very white guy from Indiana and Magic Los Angeles and flashy. They played very differently. There was this subtle race thing, but it wasn't like I like this guy because he's white or I like this guy because he was Black. There was this sort of fun, there was a humor to it and a play, and they played into it like,
that's how we used to do it.
I'm the white guy, I can shoot. You're the Black guy, you can pass. And
that's how we grew up, right? That's the good old days when people would joke about this stuff and minimize it. Keep going.
Well, all I would say is I want a time machine. If you can we get a DeLorean? We can get a DeLorean. If we can get a little
working on the flux capacitor.
Give me some plutonium. I don't know where we're going to get it. We have to find some Libyan terrorists or something.
Oh, yeah.
And if we could just turn around and go back to 1995, don't you think we could fix so much of this?
Well, we're not there.
We're not there.
Kennedy has been asked now about her behavior. Oh, by the way, so one of the things that Whoopi was saying was that one of the other players, not Kennedy, I think Angel Reese, had been tight-roped, I think she said, earlier in the game.
Yeah.
So like there was a history to it. If you look at it, Angel Reese is going up to shoot a basket.
Right.
And an arm comes behind her. Nobody would be criticizing that. We understand things get rough when you're shooting the basket in. That's
the point. You're going to be hurt. People get hurt on a basketball court. That happens. And again, sometimes there are cheap shots. That's all fine. That person was trying to take her out. And really imagine it. She could have just blown out her knee right there.
Yeah, easily.
Like the way she fell. Or something could have happened. Or she could have broke her hip or whatever. And it's like, congratulations, guys. Your league is hanging on by a thread before her, and it'll be hanging on by a thread after her.
So this woman, Kennedy, has no regrets at all.
Insane.
Here's what she's claiming now. Watch this up.
We're doing that and we're going back and forth. It's basketball, it's all hoops. After we finish the game, it's all up. I don't have any regrets with anything. I'm going to compete and play 100% hard no matter who it is.
It's the Whoopi Goldberg defense.
Yeah.
It's just rough on the court, but it's all love off the court. But listen to this, Daily Mail.
It's the Miss Rachel thing. It's all love.
It's all love.
It's all love.
But she doesn't have the weird small hands. Small hands bother me. That chef
It's
Gia,
freaky. It's
she's
freaky.
got them too. Why are they like so tiny and in
like
close to the body?
Velociraptor.
I don't. You're right. Like I don't understand. Yeah. Okay. Daily Mail, July of 2021. Kennedy Carter was suspended for conduct detrimental to the team. According to reports around the time the suspension was issued, Carter got into an argument with another player on the Dream, Courtney Williams, who asked her to improve her attitude during a game. After the game ended, Carter went up to Williams in the locker room, telling her she wanted to fight. Once that request for an altercation was denied, Carter backed away. She did not play for the Dream again. So apparently, the Daily Mail reporting she was kicked off of WNBA teams twice for a bad attitude. So I don't think she is all about the love off the court.
Not only that, you saw that she liked tweets where people were tweeting at her like, "Oh, you should have hit her harder," or
yes,
and she's liking the tweets.
Yes,
she should be kicked out of the league. She actually should never, it is a privilege to play sports for a living. She should not be allowed to play in the league anymore. She has shown no remorse, and that is not basketball. If this was just a play, there was a loose ball and you crashed into each other, and even if it was a little chippy, fine. You were trying basically to decapitate her, and you could have done it. She should not be in the league anymore. Like, they should just make such a clear statement. And the fact that Whoopi, I mean, it's been so sad watching Whoopi's devolvement into all of this lunacy, that Whoopi would run cover for this. Sonny's like a genuine racist and lunatic and whatever. But Whoopi was like, everyone loved Whoopi. You go back to 1995, like literally everyone in America loved Whoopi.
Sister Act.
Sister Act. And
Jumpin' Jack Flash, that was a great movie.
It was a great movie.
Really enjoyed that.
Yeah, we had great movies back then too.
Get Larry the Heavyset Guard. Get Larry the Heavyset Guard.
Yeah. Molly, you in danger, girl. Like, she was great. Everyone loved her. But that she has gone all in on this. And the fact that they've made it racial, when if you just flip the race situation, they would tell you it completely.
What would they like her to do about her white skin? I mean, I'm curious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, should she be apologetic for it? Should she say, like, do the Robin DiAngelo, I'm white and I'm sorry, before she enters every game? Is that what they're going to be? And meanwhile, it's like, okay, so it's a white woman entering a largely black sport and making headlines, which they resent. But when Serena Williams entered a largely white sport of tennis and completely took over and dominated, she was celebrated. People love her to this day. She's like the queen of tennis.
And imagine if, I don't know, another female tennis, give me a white female tennis player. Can you do it? I don't know that I can even come up with anybody. But
yeah, well, Martina.
All right, so let's say she was playing Martina Navratilova. We're combining generations here. And let's say at the end of the match was over, and then Martina jumped over the net and then just bashed her. Do you think people would have had a problem with that?
Right. That's exactly it. It's infuriating to watch. One of the blowbacks happened to Stephen A. Smith, who's got a sports show. Again, this is not my world, so forgive me. The audience knows. I'm always like,
I'll try to clean up where
I'm
I
on
can.
stilts when I'm talking about sports. And he got blowback that he hasn't been covering the WNBA enough, I guess, like over his career. Watch this.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A., respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
God, these.
Wow.
All right, we got to go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does more than
Stephen
us?
A., I'm talking to you. Wow. Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Okay.
All right, let's.
You're my guy, but I'm talking to you.
I got it.
Guys, I really appreciate.
You're my girl, but you've missed a lot of episodes of First Take. You missed a lot.
Stephen A., 3 years ago, you would not talk about the W at this level. Don't do that.
Guys.
Nobody was, Monica. You making Stephen A.'s point, Monica. Monica, you making Stephen A.'s point.
Please let me do my job. Please let me do my job.
I don't know who that was in the back yelling, "You're making his point," but he's right. Of course, because she's saying you should have done it more. You know why you're talking about the WNBA now? It's because of Caitlin Clark.
Right.
It's because of Caitlin Clark. But this is why
we don't talk about women's field hockey either. I bet they don't do that a lot on First Take.
This is why wokeness destroys everything. I don't watch ESPN anymore. I love basketball. If right now, if I could snap my fingers and be a basketball player for a career and make $40,000, I would drop everything else.
I'm sorry, but the white men with the penises are only being taken at the Washington Post.
You mean they don't want a 47-year-old guy with a torn ACL?
No.
They don't want that?
Sorry.
I can't even play the gay card there, but I'm gay. You let me in the league.
No.
But now I completely lost my
Sorry. You would go to the NBA if you could. You love basketball.
No, I love basketball. I don't watch basketball anymore because every time for 3 years that I would turn on ESPN, it was that. They were yelling about race, they were yelling about gender and the rest of it. So they have, I don't know who that girl is, but people like her, and Jamel Hill is a great example of this. People who should have loved basketball and loved sports, they decided to make everything racial and they've destroyed it. You want to see the counter to that? It's a friend of ours, Sage Steele, who's the most lovely, wonderful person who accomplished her childhood dream of becoming an ESPN broadcaster. She was wonderful on ESPN, and she didn't make it about all of that stuff. And then unfortunately for her, they turned on her because she actually did her job instead of basically yelling at people all day about race and gender and everything else.
And then honestly, then when they treated her like shit, she didn't play the race card either. Like to the beginning, the middle, and the end, she was like, stop making race a thing, which is why she couldn't survive there.
Yeah, I mean, twisted.
A final thing on the numbers with Caitlin Clark. This is per a tweet by Jimmy Trina, who writes for Sports Illustrated. Attendance at non-Caitlin Clark WNBA games this past weekend, 7,000, 4,000, 9,000, 7,000, 3,000. You get the idea. Attendance at Caitlin Clark WNBA games this past weekend, 17,000, 17,000. I mean, that's one. These are like 3,000 and 4,000 to 17,000. Think what a difference it makes for these women to be in full stadiums now, right? Where like tickets are going through the roof and the vendors are making money and people are buying their jerseys because they may have come to see Caitlin, but then they fall in love with this other player who's amazing that night.
Can you imagine finally?
Just say thank you.
You guys are getting what you always wanted. You're getting mainstream coverage. You're getting audiences. You're getting people to pay attention and buy jerseys. And you're making it about race and sexuality.
And how pretty she is, which is just outrageous. She's pretty, but she's no prettier than the rest of them. Like they're all actually kind of attractive, all the women we just saw.
They're athletic. They take care of themselves.
Yes, like that's the last thing they should be bitching about. All right, stand by. More with Dave Rubin straight ahead. Have you seen the garbage they're pushing in some public schools? Leftist propaganda, gender bending, race baiting, DEI indoctrination. What happened to real education? Parents, listen up. Many teachers are coming from leftist universities where they're taught by Marxist professors who want to indoctrinate our children. But I want to tell you about Freedom Project Academy, or FPA. FPA offers online learning with live, on-demand, and homeschool courses for students K through 12. Freedom Project Academy was built on Judeo-Christian values and classical curriculum. Students read books, they write in cursive, they study the full scope of history, you know, the way it used to be. Right now, save 10% on tuition when you enroll at freedom4school.com. That's freedom4, F-O-R, school.com. You can check out their fully accredited courses, teachers, and request a free information packet. We can't afford to hand over another generation to the left. Take back your child's education at Freedom Project Academy. freedom4school.com. That's freedom4 school.com. All right, Dave, so we've got to talk about Kim Kardashian. It's important because she's everywhere and so annoying. So right today, she's getting blowback because Variety put her on the cover with, I think, Chloe Sevigny, like an actual accomplished actress who's won awards and is, I think, generally regarded as one of the top acting talent that we have. And what is Kim Kardashian doing on screen left in the Actors on Actors cover?
Is she an actor? Has she ever acted
She was
in anything?
in American Horror Story, and now she's doing something with Ryan Murphy. I don't know what it is, but she's
she
trying.
had a sex tape, but is that acting?
That's literally how she became famous.
Yeah.
She became famous by getting banged on camera. I'm sorry, but that's what happened.
Was that acting though, or was that just
Well, that's
having
just
a good time?
Good point.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I didn't see it.
I don't know.
Like, was there a scene?
I haven't seen it either, but no, it's very
Was she
graphic.
the housekeeper? Like, what's going on here? I don't know.
No, it's with Ray J.
Yeah.
That I think he's a singer,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a rapper. No, they're going at it, and it's very graphic. And there are reports that they did it willingly, and that he was paid to participate in this with her, and that her mother then sold it. She's denied that and claimed that she sued and got paid, off for the lawsuit. But I don't believe her. I believe she did participate in it. That's how she became a household name, because thanks to her sex tape, which just happened to leak months before the launch of her show. So here she is now, like hanging with on the cover. And I'm telling you, this is a bridge too far. Like, it's one thing to see her enormous ass in the New York Post, because I understand they're trying to sell magazines or newspapers, but this really is what's next? She's going to be on the cover of Nature next to one of our Nobel scientists. Like, she's going to be on the cover of Politico next to Trump. Like, this is ridiculous.
We're
so obsessed with damn clicks.
Yeah.
We'll put anything on these covers and celebrate them like they're Madame Teresa, Mother Teresa.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Like the click nature of everything. And you and I can get caught in that. Like, it's a challenge for anyone that's trying to do something roughly honestly to not get caught in just, I will do anything for clicks. And the more clicks you get, then it starts feeding the algorithm more. And then the more you get, and the more you get, and the more you get. Kardashians, the entire machine around them, they've got tequilas and they've got the TV shows and I'm sure there's a zillion other brands and verticals in their makeup.
Skims.
They have figured out how to just like feed a beast constantly that consistently rewards them for it.
Right,
I mean,
it's the reward that's upsetting, that Variety would do this. What is she doing on there? Like, you couldn't find a real actress who's actually accomplished something in this field?
What about Meryl Streep? She's
Right.
still around? Like, how about Meryl Streep?
There's a
talking
lot
to
of great
Chloe?
ones.
Yeah.
Like, I feel bad. Chloe Sevigny must have been like, what on earth am I having to partner with this woman
Right.
for this cover shoot and this honor?
Oh, because this is like their thing where it's an actor asking an actor question. So
Yeah.
aren't you supposed to have insight into
Yes.
acting and everything? And she's like, well, I got banged on a boat. And
I need Kyle
Dunn.
Dunnigan right now with his impression of Kim Kardashian. Like, people need to work. Like, when you worked, what was it like? That's him. He does it better than I do.
She's got a big ass, I guess.
I mean, for that, we must thank her.
We salute
No.
her. We
Okay,
salute
but wait,
her.
there's more.
Yes.
Because did you see Kim Kardashian had her daughter, Northwest, with Kanye West,
Yes.
star in The Lion King, the live performance of The Lion King? Hold on. This is what they did. It was at the Lion King 30th anniversary, a live-to-film concert event at the Hollywood Bowl. And her 10-year-old kid performed alongside Jeremy Irons, Billy Eichner, Jennifer Hudson, and others as Simba in Lion King. And I'm sorry, Dave. Look, I am a public person, and I certainly don't want my kids to not get opportunities because I've chosen this life. But nor would I feel comfortable exploiting the fact that people know who I am to insert my already enormously privileged kid into a role that, let me just be kind, she was not well suited for, okay? And the Nepo baby situation that's happening there with double billionaire parents so that this kid could get this role that could have gone to somebody else and honestly should have gone to somebody else,
Of course.
is infuriating.
It's infuriating, but look, they built this industry. They have actually built an industry based on just being famous and something that has just like been able to feed itself relentlessly. And Hollywood, like then you sit there and there's the producer and everybody's impressed and oh my God, there are all these clicks and there's views and suddenly we sold out the Hollywood Bowl. Can you imagine Jeremy Irons? I mean, he's a pretty serious actor.
I know.
Can you imagine like
He felt like
afterwards,
Chloe Sevigny.
like literally like kill me now,
Right.
Or kill me now.
That was very well done.
That wasn't too bad.
I don't know. I'm sick of it. I just feel like I'm sick of her. I'm sick
Yeah,
of them. I
yeah.
hate their brand. I hate what they stand for. And I hate their outsized influence on our country and our culture. And I would love for it to stop getting rewarded.
Listen, I live in Miami. It is the big ass capital of the world.
Is it? Yeah. Number one?
Oh my God. If you got to come down to Miami. I mean,
But
the
they're all
ass is-
fake, right?
No,
It's
they're
not
all
the-
fake.
yeah, they didn't get them like the old-fashioned
It's
way.
like the Brazilian ass or whatever it is. And if that, I assume that has something to do with Kim Kardashian. But
Well,
you
let
just
me tell
can't
you
get a
something.
seat on a bus.
As my own ass starts to succumb to the forces of gravity, I have thought, like, what can you do? And then I thought, if you get all that stuff injected, you're just going to have an ass down in the back of your knees. Like,
Yeah.
now when you're old, it's just going to be like way down there. That's not hot. Like two drooping water balloons.
You remember?
No one wants that.
Joan Rivers had a great bit about how her boobs were sagging over the years and she was basically just like kicking them down the street as she was walking.
Well, it's my mom. My mom says, oh, I used to be 38 double D. Now I'm a 42 long.
That's
Linda.
funny. That's funny.
All right, last but not least,
Yes.
J-Lo and Ben Affleck are in the Daily Mail, a great piece by Maureen Callahan, who I love, who is not surprised that they are reportedly breaking up and is somewhat celebrating it, as I kind of am myself in a way. Not because I want to see them break up, but because I believe the whole relationship was fake. I think it's a PR creation. I said that at the time that they got together again. She was trying to distract from the fact that A-Rod had just cheated on her. And he had terrible press from all of his alcoholism. He cheated on Jennifer Garner with the nanny. And I wonder what it says to you, because she just finished a film celebrating this amazing love story with this Hollywood nonsense about how great everything is between them and how, okay, like everything in that town, it wasn't true. It was fake.
Megyn, I think we can go full circle on the show today because we started talking about how the mainstream media lies about everything. And we were talking about that as it pertains to the news and what's going on in the world and current events. But also everything related to Hollywood is fake. The relationships are fake. Even the ones that don't seem fake are still fake to some degree because they have been brought together by the studio or by the agent or by the manager. I lived in Hollywood. I know enough of these people. It's all just so that someone will buy People magazine and something else. It's not to say that there's no, I'm trying to think, there are like every now and again you'll find a couple that's a real couple. What's her name? Who was in Desperate Housewives and married the actor in Fargo. And then she got in trouble for the school scandal thing.
Yeah.
Like they strike Felicity Huffman and
no, Pierce Brosnan.
Who did he marry?
Well, not a famous woman, but they have a real marriage and they're lovely.
Right. So I have no doubt that some of these people, but when you see these big power things that end up on all of the covers of all the things, it's all fake. It's a story. It's the same thing as the Kardashian thing. And yes, is it now coming to a spectacular crashing halt for all of them? Well, they don't need it anymore, or it's just. And don't they have a trans kid or something?
Yes, they.
And there's that
on both
picture,
sides. His child with Jennifer Garner and his stepchild with J-Lo.
That is statistically impossible.
I know.
Did you see that video when Disney, there was videos of Disney execs got leaked and one of the women was like, my binary daughter and my non-binary daughter and Jordan Peterson just went off on it because it was like, this cannot be.
No.
It literally cannot be. And even if it is, your odd pride about it.
Move off the left coast.
Yeah, exactly.
Move to Miami.
Don't move to Miami. Florida's closing, by the way. You can come, but we're pretty much closed. Almost everyone will get killed by an alligator there. Don't come. It's horrible. It's
and then you wind up with the weird hands. No, stay away.
That was full circle. We did it.
Great to see you, my friend.
It was great to see you.
Oh, you're awesome. Dave Rubin, everybody. And thanks to all of you for joining us today. We're going to be back tomorrow. We'll take a look at some of the legal cases dominating politics and more. See ya then.